Hey everybody, I'm Rashid. So I'm gonna talk in this video about a few things, and I hope you find them helpful. The first one is this retention versus time, which is about the memory. Ibn Gauss, I think, yeah, he's a German. He's one of the great experimental psychologists, and he did an experiment with the word count and found out that uh, let's say you learn something, then over time it just decays quickly, an exponential decay, which means in little time it drops faster. And uh, and this reminds me, I think that's what happens when somebody comes to me and say, I spent all night studying and I took the test and it doesn't match my performance. Probably this is what happens because cramming works for a short period of time. It doesn't work for a long time. And if you study all night, if the brain gets tired, then the effect is going to be even higher, and the steeper this decline is going to be. So one needs to think about that. So this chart will help us understand what's going on and maybe adjust our behavior in studying based on it. Um, so as you see here, in a given time, you can intervene with this curve with the review, and it goes back to where it was. So maybe if this is 50% or something, then let's say maybe 50% here, then it goes back up. Then with time, it starts declining. But if you see, look, the curve is much flattened, is much better. And these events, as they happen, the curves looks better. And we call this a forgetting curve. And if we connect these dots here, for knowledge to be lower and keeps increasing and maintaining up, that's a learning curve. And we talk about it, we say, yeah, that was a learning curve for me. So this is what we mean. And there is a lot of research. You can see how medical schools use this and recommend it for their grads. And so these occurrences here are spaced repetition. So if there is a spaced repetition, reviews, interventions, they help better understanding and retaining the knowledge. So, so the assignments and the materials that are used in the course go around this idea that we need to check out things multiple times and to do well. So let's start with this proficiency, which is called calculus proficiency test. Not really a kind of a test because you need to take it, you can take it multiple times, but it's called a test because it's given in a test format. And this is about prior knowledge. And your prior knowledge for this course, of course, it's, let's say, trig, pre-calc algebra, arithmetic, and all that stuff. Everything that comes before it is prior knowledge. And this prior knowledge can act two ways. Either it's positive, where these are strong, they are correct, and they help to have that better start or experience in the course and do well. But if somehow the prior knowledge, for example, is incorrect, then it could hurt the student because we think something, you know, we've seen it. I'll just give the, well, you know, some, if this is incorrect, right? If we understand fractions in a certain way, if we not simplify rational expression in a certain way, you know, x plus 2 over X, if we do certain incorrect things, will affect what happens in calculus, because you reach a point and you're like, yeah, I actually can do this, but it's not correct. Now, as you advance in this, there are even things that maybe you saw correct in some places, but they were done correctly with some assumptions. So, for example, a lot of people don't do this correctly because they haven't kept in what setting it was done. So if we do a 4 and the answer is a 2, then it won't be correct either, because these are imaginary numbers, and with imaginary numbers, what we're supposed to do is to do I square root of 2, kind of simplify first, then it's I square root of 4 is 2, so the answer is -2. And there is a big difference between a -2 and the other two we found, right? So, and this is the correct. So the purpose from this prior knowledge is not to test you, it's a kind of a diagnostic. It's a really a small grade in the syllabus, but to also give you a chance that you can talk with your instructor or your GTA about some of the reviews. There is some you can do on your own online, or you can consult with your instructor and GTA on that. So this will affect the start for some, but we'll talk about other ideas a little more later. Recorded lecture allows for you to see the material on your own pace, write it down, because watching math is learned by doing and not just watching. So write it down, follow the steps, see what's going on, practice the notation and all that. So you learn everything as you watch the video. Then you try the class activity, which has some few questions. So, that point on the curve, you're trying to bring it up, because if you watch a video without writing things down, of course, there is no way we're going to remember what was in the video. So that's why we go into the class activity or a lecture activity there and try. I think we called it lecture activity either way. Then you try a few things, and now some points, some topics are reinforced. Then next day, if you do this the day prior, you attend the live session that is assigned to you. And now you're bringing more points, you're seeing new things, and you're reinforcing things that you already reviewed there. And you start your homework. If you did this, then you're working on that curve. You're trying to make that curve in the good looking way that we want, not the other curve that is not good, right? So that's the purpose. That's why there are these different pieces, is to increase these points, because as the time of the course goes, you get new things. And if we just wait until we learn one thing and we move on, that's not going to be helpful. Then you have a recitation at the end of the week. Some weeks don't have recitation because they say a holiday or an exam, but the other weeks have recitations, and recitations with your GTA will reinforce again, will bring up that point by discussing a few examples and get into interaction. So what I'm hoping that you see here, that the purpose of these are not same, but the main goal is the same, of increasing this spaced repetition and all that. but they are not substitutes to each other. So recitation is not a substitute to watching the recorded lecture. Recitation happens, for example, on Friday. Recorded lecture, for example, is posted, let's say, Monday for the Tuesday, let's say, lecture, right? So there is a different time in which things happen. So we shouldn't confuse these and say, yeah, I'll wait until recitation, then I'll just ask all the questions, because then you get frustrated because the recitation is targeted to maybe some topics that we know the curve is even steeper, right, for them. So we work on these, the worst ones. Of course, you're welcome to ask questions, but just let you know that's how things work. And you know, and you have your friends or classmates there, and if everybody is on the same boat, it's much better. And that same track is where everybody did what they're supposed to do on the days before. The discussion is where now you explore your own things within the topics in the domain that was asked. So you explore and you post. So it's another point to review and to help understanding and answer some of the questions. And the discussion is beneficial. So there is a difference between completion and benefit. Think about here more of how your classmate will benefit from your post. If you want them to benefit from your post, then you want post early, because they get to post, then they'll see your post and they can reply to it. So if you want them to benefit from it, you should post early. And of course, discussion does not replace any of these others, but it reinforces, it helps and all that. The exams are open note, open book. They don't, of course, replace anything, but it's time for you to assess yourself. And they are done for you. So a simple way to say it, they are not to assess a textbook, right? They're to assess you. So to keep it simple, you still need to prepare and then learn and all that before you get to the test, just like if it is a closed book and notes. And so you're assessing whether, when you worked on this curve, whether it's here or whether, for example, it's here, for example, just to give you some visual on these. And, you know, and you adjust your strategy, because if you take exam one and you see yourself going through the notes and running out of time and this and that, then the strategy was not correct and needs to be adjusted for exam two. Just like to prepare if it is closed note, closed book, look at the notes, look at what's required, ask questions and all that. And of course, on the exam, you work out the examples, you double check with the text and your notes and all that. And you'll have plenty of time to finish. And if something needs to be scanned, you scan it and upload it. Office hours, the GTA has office hours, your instructor has office hours. That's another point again to improve the repetition and reviews. So I don't want to keep, I can talk for hours about each one of these, but I think now you get the idea of why there are different things posted, because this course is very important and very essential. And if you get calculus, you can do a lot of things with it, and I'll talk about them at the end, some of them. And this course is not designed in, you know, somebody may think, well, I'll go in, log in on Sunday and see what's up. That's not going to work for this course, right? So let's think differently, think positive way, think about spaced repetition, reviews, and if you do that, Think about your long-term goal, right? Because that's the idea here. If we want to be in these spots here, why? Because there is a long-term goal um, that we're going to talk about. You know, you're going somewhere. You know, you're not ending after calculus. That's it. You're getting your degree, and that's it. That's not the case. You're going somewhere, and you want to take this knowledge, and you're going to use it. So you want to read this syllabus to make sure you understand the expectations. Um, Knowledge is power, so make sure you know what's going on. You want to know the details, the policies, all that stuff. Then, so some tips here. As we talked about how the course is built, you want to you want to make this part of your routine, whether it's daily or every other day. But there is no, I think, other alternative if somebody wants to do well and learn. It can't be after 3 days or after 4 days, you know, a long game. That's not going to work. Consider time blocking. If you block the time, you're going to complete work. You're not going to procrastinate, and the curve is not going to be allowed to drop. Believe in yourself. This is very important, since I can talk about this for hours, but I'll make it simple, and I'll give you two simple ideas here. There is a big difference between effort and ability, and we confuse the two. If you are in the course, you have the ability to do well in the course. Of course, we talked about prior knowledge may affect the start. Some we need to review X and Y, some we need to review X, some won't need to review X and Y. That's the only difference. But the ability, you're in the course, you have the ability to do well. What we need to work on is effort. And effort is, we may underestimate. There are some studies, for example, found that, you know, even at UCF, sometimes found the amount of studies, what, an hour or 2 hours a week. That's not gonna work for this course, because that's underestimating the time that's needed to work. So we need to figure out after the first week, working with the assignments. Of course, every week is different, but that gives you at least a baseline, and you adjust it for a second week. After second week, you adjust. After exam one, you adjust, but you work on your effort, because the question is, what is the effort that I need to put to do well, to have the good results that I want? So that's the question. And your instructor will help you and give you tips on all that, but it's still a question that you need to keep in mind and adapt with it as the course keeps going. So I'll move on, because that could take an hour to talk about. But I hope that you don't confuse the two. And if you don't confuse the two, you're going to believe in yourself, and you're going to put the effort, and you're going to move on. And that's it. Like this, end of story. Another thing that we can explain for a while is this: you're not alone. Yes, you're not alone. And we talked about in the course. This course has GTAs, and it has an instructor, and you have a Math Success Center, you have SARC, you have a lot of different people that you can deal with and work with. But the important part also is the campus resources are not closed. So you need to keep in mind this: advising is still existing, counseling, all resources are available. You just need to ask and find out and if you need help, we'll help you with it. But this is not something that you should drive on your own. It's not when, you know, we're not saying teach yourself. The course is not designed so you teach yourself. Of course, you will take teaching some parts and by yourself, but it is designed in a way that you're going to learn and you're going to interact and you're going to figure out, you're going to ask questions and you're going to adjust the strategy and you're going to assess yourself, and now you're going to say how did it go. Then you know, for second cycle, and that keeps going until the term ends. You're going to work on it, right? So to close, mathematics transforms our thinking. There is no way after you learn advanced topics in maths, you're not going to think about different areas that you can go to. You know, the reasoning and the power of logic and reasoning, the qualitative and quantitative data and research and all that. Everything opens up. But the number 4 is essential to talk about, because one of the courses that really opens up for you a gate to help a lot of other people is calculus. I mean, you can, so that's something to think about, right? If you learn calculus, there is a lot of other people that you're gonna be able to help. So keep that in mind. If you keep that in mind, it's gonna be motivating more, because you're not learning it only for yourself. You're learning it to pass it on. And you can see that on campus, we already have a lot of great people that work in SARC, work in the mall, work in Math Success Center, volunteer. They don't work in any of these places, but they go to other schools to volunteer. They do service learning. They have a better impact, because calculus is needed for anyone who's going to go on a STEM track or engineering and all that. So keep that in mind, and that's going to be motivating to know that. And the last thing, of course, you know that you open that door, you're on your way to your major and to your long-term goals. Thank you. If you have questions, let me know. Take care.